Hello all and welcome to the channel. This is a race that I did probably 3 or 4 months ago, and it was actually one of my favorite ACAT races, or early on in my ACAT career that I did. And it was 3-hour racing on the London Classique. We're going to do 6 laps for approximately 39K. And for the most part, this race is fairly flat. It does have some kickers in it, maybe 2 or 3 throughout each lap that you would have to go through. And if you're not paying attention, you can kind of get kicked off the back and get dropped on those little kickers if you're not paying attention. But I really wanted to add some commentary to this race because it was one of my favorites. At the time that it happened, it had one of the YouTube stars in it, the Vegan Cyclist himself, Pearce. I don't know why I didn't know that he was in this race. You'll see as we go along there are a couple of cues that actually called him out, and for some reason I didn't see him. Maybe I was reaching for some water, or probably turning on the fan or looking off at the TV or something that distracted me, and I didn't actually see the little comments pop up on the wall there. But as you can see, it's a decent sized field. For the most part, everybody's around about the same level that I know of. We kind of get a break early on to distinguish the front group away from everybody else, and we kind of just pull away. This particular race had tons of attacks in it, and if you weren't paying attention, you could easily get dropped. But one of the things that I noticed during this race was that we had 3 riders with the same outfit on, or same kit, I should say. And that always sets off alarm bells in my head that these 3 people are going to be doing some team tactics. It was a race team called OTR, and actually I knew one of the guys that was in that group. His name is Brian Bishop. Brian Bishop and I had mixed it up way early, probably on in my Zwifting career, where we were doing a 50K group ride / race. Anybody on the front is racing, and him and I and one other guy were the last 3 on the front group and had a crazy sprint to try and win that race, and Brian came out on top. That was one of the first times that I almost had a win when I was in BCAT, but didn't quite get that win. And I was a little upset about that, but Brian and I started following each other, and he's a really good rider. He's a strong rider. So I knew he was going to be a challenge. But I was watching out for those 3 because I knew they were going to try and do some team tactics, and I've fallen victim to people doing team tactics and lost races, and actually in some cases got dropped because of the things that they did that influenced what I was doing and caused me to get dropped, or at least, I'm not going to say dropped all the time, but caused me to not be able to do what I needed to do to win that particular event. So in this case, I'm watching those 3. But as I reviewed this video, I noticed that there was another group of 3 that didn't have on the same kit, but they were in the same country, I have to say. There's 3 Japanese riders that were also appeared to be doing some team tactics to try and influence the race. And as we go along, I'll kind of point that out. So we got off to a good start, fast start. It was a fast-paced start. So if you weren't up to par or not warmed up, you could have gotten dropped fairly easily. As you look at this, you'll notice that one rider is starting to go off the front. I was calling him 6 bars because his name in Japanese isn't showing up on the screen. It's just a bunch of bars. So I was calling him 6 bars in my head as I watched what he was doing. And you'll notice that very early on, he's going to attack, and he's just going to lead the whole group. Nobody's really going to go after him. He's going to be out in Zwift land by himself, but he's going to get a very healthy lead on us. But for right now, just getting into my groove. We're riding at a decent pace, and we're just holding on right now to kind of test each other out. But I am watching those 3 OTR guys. I know they're going to try something, and you have to know what kind of tactics people use in the ACAT racing that can get you caught up. So I'm just going to let this play for now, and then we'll catch back up when something starts to happen. Now you can see that we went through one of those kickers, and it thinned out that front group very much. You can see that a bunch of BCAT riders fell off the pace. You can see how the whole line there is fractured in the top right hand corner in the little mini map, and they're never really going to catch back up to us because the pace's going to be a little too hot for them, and we will just ride away. So we just finished the lead-in. That lead-in gives us a little idea of what the finish line is going to look like. We're actually going to go through this 6 times. So during those, each lap, I'm kind of deciding where I'm going to start my sprint from. I know I'm a strong sprinter. I normally pick where I want to start from. For the most part, I don't react off of other people. I decide where I'm going to start from because I know I can kind of hold my power for a while. So in this case, I have decided that I was going to start at right around 400 meters, but depending on how my legs feel after these 6 laps or after the 38K, I may change that. I may drop it down to 300, but it will be at least 300 meters for me to go to start my sprint. When you're an ACAT racer, you definitely want to be able to sprint at least 300 meters. Depending on the field that you're working with, if you have some A+ers in there, that can extend out to 500 meters. So you kind of look at your competition before you decide on where you're going to sprint from. and what kind of shape your legs are in when you get to that spot. As you can see, we had an attack here. We had to decide on if we were going to go after him. If I see one person attack off the front and it's early in the race, I will not go after that person. I will wait and see if that person is going to drop back, or I'll wait and see if somebody else in the group or the group as a whole is going to go after that person. Then I will tend to drop back and let them pull me along. Sometimes I will initiate that cover of the attack just to see if others will come, and then I will slowly back off and let the people that are behind me pull ahead of me, and then I will hit the gas to see if we're going to close down that gap or bridge up to that rider. But here, I'm just hanging back. I know it's very early in this race. There's no point in going after one person. If that's an A+ cat rider and he's that strong to go off by himself on the whole ride, then more power to him. I'm not going to chase him and blow myself up. But that's actually the guy I call 6 bars. That's him way up there. And he's actually going to get a pretty significant gap on us. But I will let this play so that you can see what happens. One of the things that I did want to say is that I will drop back to get myself out of the front so that I'm not pushing wind, or what we call wind in the game, and take the benefit of the draft. But every now and then I will roll back up to the front, or at least close enough to the front to where I can see how far that rider that has attacked and went off on his own, how far ahead he is. So you'll actually see me roll up close enough, and there you can see that rider 6 bars is 11 seconds ahead of us. That's a pretty significant gap. And I think at this point, everybody's pretty much thinking the same thing that I'm thinking. Either he's going to blow up and he's going to come back to us, or he's just that good and we might as well let him go and race for second. But at this point, I'm not chasing him. Now here you'll see me roll up to the front a little bit. And the only reason I rolled up to the front is because this is that kicker. This is a 6% hill, and you can easily get dropped off the back if you're hanging on the back and not going fast enough, especially if a number of the people up in this group attack. So at that point, I just let myself roll up to the front. I didn't back off the gas. I just did a slow pedal and let the group consume me again, or work their way up around me again, so that I can just flow into it. And at this part, I'm just hanging with the group. Now if you look, 6 bars is up 16 seconds on us now. That's a pretty significant gap. But you'll notice that a couple of guys have upped their speed. It's time to reel this guy back in. So I went with them because I wanted to be sure if those couple of guys made a breakaway to go bridge up and the people behind me got dropped, that I wouldn't be in the group that got dropped. I wanted to make sure that I was part of any group that went to go and get him. But like you notice, the whole group itself has sped up. So us traveling at around about the same wattage as 6 bars is going to make us move a lot faster than him, but with less effort. So in this case, I'm using the whole group, or the group dynamic, to reel him in without me trying to bridge that gap by myself. I know I probably have enough power in my legs to bridge that gap or to go after him, but that would just destroy me for the race. Why would I burn up all those matches? Where, as a group, you can see that we're bringing him in. So he's down to 9 seconds now. So we're definitely gaining on him, but with a whole lot less effort. And I know he's up front, out there by himself, trying to maintain his lead, burning up his leg. Now, if I think about it, or as I analyze this, I notice that there's 2 other Japanese riders in our group that are sitting kind of off the back of us that are also taking this pull back up to him. So I think it's some race tactics on those 3 to try and get the other riders to burn up their legs chasing him, so that they would have an advantage towards the end of the race. But it seemed like the group as a whole didn't fall for that. We just stuck to our guns, stuck to our grouping, and we didn't go after him at all, even though he was at one point 16, 17 seconds ahead. Just stuck to our guns, and we're just soldiering on. Now you notice that there's some other attacks. Some guys are really starting to push some power to reduce that gap to get to that guy that's out front. I pick up my pace to make sure that if they make a big break to go after him, that I don't get dropped, that I'm not too far back to get any draft off of them to be able to hold on to them. So I pick up my power to catch back up to that group. I never want to fall too far off a group of 4 or 5 riders. 5 riders, in this case, can easily get out there and do their own group and pull away and drop the rest of us. So in that situation, I'm always going to make that effort to put in the power to get up to them. And as you can see, old 6 bar is down to 5 seconds, so we're definitely gaining on him. If he were to try and push the power to get away from us again, that would be very detrimental to his legs. So I think he's just toned it down to allow the group to come back up to him so that he can then sit in and recover, because he's definitely going to need some recovery time from being out on his own. But like I said, it's still very early in this race, and not sure why he would attack so early. Now, if you've noticed, there's some other guys that have put on the power and attack to go up there and catch up to him, and that has me a little concerned because they could try and make a breakaway. So I put on the power to make sure that I don't give them too much distance. They have 3 seconds, and that's somewhat of a gap if you have 3 people that want to go out on a long. I know 6 bars is needing some recovery time, so he's probably going to back off a little bit. But in this case, I put on the power to make sure that I get back up to that group. And when I notice other people coming up behind me, I always just ease off a little bit so that they get in front of me, so that I can also use their draft to help me move my way up to whoever's up front. So that was that tactic. I'm backing off a little bit now. We're actually on that kicker, and just being watchful and wary to make sure that I don't get dropped. Right there, you saw me put in a little bit of a dig because I didn't know if that guy up front was going to take off and anybody else would go with them. I always want to make sure I have enough power when I hit that kicker that if the group decides to go, I don't get dropped. I've been dropped several times in the past when I was a B-Cat rider racing on this course. And that little kicker seemed to always get me. Back at that time, I wasn't, I was more of a time trialist. I wanted it flat as a pancake course. Didn't like hills, didn't like kickers at all. But doing my ascension to A-Cat, I've learned a lot more. I've gotten a lot stronger. And for the most part, I can handle hills well. But I still tend to find flat courses to race. Oh, 6 bars is still sitting out in the front of the group, driving the bus. I'm not sure why he would be sitting up there. He probably should have just let himself roll back to the back of the group, or at least in the middle of the group, so they can rest his legs and recover, take advantage of the draft. But hey, that's him. He's going to do what he's going to do. But there's those 3 OTR guys. I'm keeping my eye on them, making sure that what they do don't get me caught up. I know something's going to happen at some point where they're probably going to be doing the same thing, attacking to destroy the legs of the other riders and letting their, what we call sprinters, and I'm a sprinter, rest on the back, riding wheels, saving energy. And I decided to click the keyboard, give myself a little different vantage point view of the ride. It's probably the one and only time I'm doing it. But just switching it up a little bit. As you can see, I'm out front, but I'm only pushing like maybe 3 watts per kilogram. So in that case, if I roll out front, I don't care. I'm just going to hold that pace and either let the group naturally pass me or just back off slightly. In this case, I tend not to back off slightly because I don't want to roll back too much and then start yo-yoing back and forth from the back to the front, trying to synchronize myself back with the group. I will let the group pass me. I just won't push much power beyond maybe 2.5 to 3 watts so that I don't stay out in front. But in this case, it's practically a 40K race. I'm always looking to conserve energy in one of these. I'm not looking to attack. I'm not really an attacker. I'm not looking to drive the bus. I'm not a bus driver. I'm a sprinter. I'm a power sprinter. I know that. I know that's my forte, and I play that to the hilt. Yeah, look, I changed the view again, just to give a different little perspective. Now, if you look at my graph, you'll notice that we've gone through an extended period of what I call the blue-green zone. That's pretty much a recovery zone for me. So at this point, my heart rate's coming down. It's only like 160. This is fantastic for me. I'm just chilling. But you'll notice there's an attack. And the attack was made by one of the Japanese riders. One of those 3 Japanese riders. So we had to decide whether we were going to go after him or not. We're not even halfway through in this race, and here was an attack that made absolutely no sense for him to do that attack and then slow down the way he did for us to just slowly reel him back in. To me, that's just making me wary that yes, these 3 Japanese riders are trying to use team tactics to get us to do things to benefit them or benefit their sprinter. And I was not going to go after them. So I was not going to fall for them. And if you notice, there's another attack. And same thing. I'm not going to chase. We're still not halfway through this race. We got a long way to go. And I'm not going to burn my legs up chasing or pulling the rest of the group just to bridge up to other guys. But I did notice that this was more than just one rider up front. So if the other guys go, I really need to go. And as you can tell, there's another guy here on the orange bike, and it's one of the Japanese riders. So at this point, I know I need to put down some power to make sure that I get up to this group that's up front. I don't want to dilly-dally and end up getting dropped. So I put on some power, and I might be pulling 1 or 2 guys along with me. But I will slowly slow down like I did for this guy. And here's the Japanese guy. And let them go up front. And then use their will to pull me forward without using much energy. I mean, the other group up front is only like 2 seconds ahead. So that can be closed down very quickly. So here comes the rest of the group. I said, okay. I let the rest of the group go by, and I just fall in line and just easily let myself go up front. No power spikes, maybe 1 power spike because we are on the kicker. I also always want to make sure I put in a little extra effort on this kicker to make sure that I'm not getting dropped. Things flatten out. And I just, okay, time to ride. The guy that's behind me in the multicolored kit, that's Tyler. That's Tyler Pearce, the Vegan Cyclist. I don't know why I didn't know that. Probably should have known it. I'm one of his subscribers on his YouTube channel. He gets a lot of looks. And he actually streamed this race. I didn't know it at the time. It actually popped up on my YouTube feed. I think a day or so after this race ended, and I was surprised to see that, and I was, I gotta watch this, but we'll talk about that at the end. So now we've caught back up to the guys that were up front. There's those 6 bars again. Driving the bus, pushing the pace, trying to get everybody to expend energy. I know there's some tactics going on between these guys. So they don't know that I don't. And there's the OTR guys in the black and red. 3 of those guys. That's Bishop on the left-hand side with the brown hair. The other 2 guys have white hair. So I've spotted them out. So I'll know when they start to do their team tactics, how to respond. But I know Bishop's a strong rider. So I don't know if he's going to be the sprinter or the bait. We'll have to see how that pans out. As you look at my name over on the right on the scoreboard, you'll notice a ZLDR at the end of my name. That's actually my running club name, Zwift Long Distance Runner. That's the running club that I'm in. The other guys that have like letters out in parentheses off to the right, the majority of those, or at least from what I could see, all of those guys, that's their riding team or racing bike team name. I'm not part of a bike team yet. I don't know why I'm not part of a bike team. Early on, I got asked to join a couple of teams, but I was such a newbie. I was just a little hesitant on joining a team at the time, so I kind of like nixed that idea and just let it be. But as you can see, there's another Japanese guy that made an attack that's trying to get us to chase him. Burn up our legs. I'm not going to do it. There's guys that are in front of me that if they go, then I will go. And you can see there's a couple of guys that are making digs to go, to move up. You can see over on the right some numbers in orange. That means they're pushing down the power. I'm not going to put down that much power. I'm just going to do what I call hard pedaling to get me up to around 6.5, 7 watts. I may blip into the orange a little bit, but not much. I don't want to put up too much power. And as you can see, I have more than enough to bring myself right on up to the front. So I'm not going to burn myself chasing any one person by myself. Just apply enough power to make sure that I'm in the group when I need to be. So we're a little more than halfway through the race. We're on our 4th lap, 4th of 6. And you can see a lot of blue and green, except for that spike recently on that one little kicker where we're actually in the blue zone. So I'm loving this. My heart rate is going to come down, and that just saves my legs. So when you're racing, there's a site called Zwift Power where you should always go to that site to do some analysis on the people that are going to be in your race and what their strengths are. It's all out there if you know how to read it. And I guarantee you, nobody has really looked at that in this race. Other than Brian Bishop, none of them probably know what kind of a sprinter I am. So those two groups, the OTR group and the Japanese group that are using their team tactics, they don't know. They just don't know. Here I am out front again. It's only because I'm on this kicker. Just making sure I put down enough power so if there's a little breakaway that I can easily recover and join onto it. You'll notice that up ahead there's some riders up ahead. That's lappers. And when you're riding into a group of lappers, especially if it's a big group of lappers, you need to be paying attention and not get soaked up with them and fall off the back. I actually had that happen to me towards the end of a race when we were getting ready for the sprint, and we ran into a bunch of lappers, and I was fixated on the lappers and didn't notice that the guys up front had hit the gas and had started their sprint, and then my sprint started late, and at that point it was too late to kind of win the race. So I'm always wary of that, to make sure that I'm focused on the people I need to be focused on. And old 6 Bars, he's still out front. He's still driving the bus. So I give him a lot of credit. He's got some power in his legs, and he's not afraid of being on the front. And really, I can't say it's being afraid. Actually, it's just not smart. It's just not smart to sit on the front and just pull everybody else along. Not smart at all. That's energy that he's burning that he won't have at the end of the race. Or maybe he doesn't really need it. Maybe he's not going to sprint. If he's doing the team tactics that I think he's doing, then he doesn't need the energy at the sprint because he's not going to sprint. He's just going to wait for his other teammates to get out front and sprint through the sprint down. And as you can see, he's made an attack. But this time it's the other Japanese guy. One of the 3 that has made an attack. And everybody's being smart and not chasing him. Makes no sense to chase him. He's still got 11K to go. Why chase that one rider by itself? More than likely, he's just doing that to get us the chase so that his sprinter can save his leg. So I've seen 6 Bars do it, and I've seen Charmy. I guess that's his name. Charmy is the other Japanese guy. He made the attack. So what's the other Japanese guy's name? It is A&M. A&M. So I'm going to assume that A&M, or A-N-M, I'm just looking at the last 3 letters of his name, is the sprinter in that group of 3. So he's the one that I have to worry about in that group. OTR has been kind of disciplined up to this point, so I don't know when they're going to make their attacks or try and play their tactics, but I know it's coming. I know it's coming. And just like that, we're back up on the Japanese rider's tail. That little attack didn't work. Nobody went after him. And we're back in one big happy group. And there goes an attack. And it is the OTR rider this time. Brian Bishop. Bishop is making an attack. So he's not a sprinter in their group. Now I go after him a little bit until I remember that, oh, you're not supposed to chase him. You're not supposed to chase him. So I stopped putting down the power to bring him back. And now I'm waiting to see who's going to go by me. I need riders to go by me if they're going to chase. And you can see, 6 bars coming up alongside of me. And he's not attacking. So I think he's starting to realize that that's a team tactic also. So I just let the group go around me. I fall in line. And we will all work together as a group to bring Bishop back. And you'll notice that the other 2 OTR riders are hanging towards the back of our group. That means they're riding wheels and saving energy. One of those guys is the OTR sprinter. Team tactics, I love it. Now here's a guy that's making a break. He doesn't know about the team tactic stuff. There's an OTR guy go. There's another OTR guy go. I'm like, okay, I gotta go. I gotta get on the gas because I don't want to get dropped. I don't want to fall so far back as to fall out of the draft and not be able to catch up. So I hit the gas to make sure that I bridge this back up. I can see that the rest of the group is also going. So there's no point in me really putting down a sprint to catch those guys up front. Just let the other guys that go by me do that. I put in a little dig because I'm on the kicker again. That's my middle of the digger kick to make sure that I move up. And you can see the whole group just slowly reeling in that front group again. So there was Bishop doing his attack for the OTR team. Again, just burn up the legs. Burn up the legs on the sprinters to give your sprinter a better chance at the finish. There's actually a channel called Discord that a lot of people on Zwift use. It allows them to talk to each other. I don't know if these 2 groups are talking to each other on Discord or not. If they are doing team tactics, that would probably be a good thing for them to be on Discord. In my running team, the ZLDR, we've done team running races where we talk on Discord to each other. So I don't know if that's what's happening here, but doesn't matter to me. I know what they're doing. I know what they're trying to do. I just have to be ready for it and not fall into those traps. Tyler Pearce, the Vegan Cyclist, he has a pretty big YouTube channel. He's, I would consider him a legit cycling YouTube influencer. And I've been following him for a while, since I saw one of his first videos back when he did his first triathlon. He made a video of it. I thought that was pretty funny. Very insightful. It was back during the time where I was just starting off in my triathlon career. So it was kind of nice to. I mean, I had been doing it for maybe a year or so before I saw his video. But I used to always go to YouTube to look at triathlon videos to pick up tips and tricks. And that's when I first discovered Tyler on YouTube. So I've been a subscriber and follower of his for a while. But he does more Zwifting now. He does all kind of cycling. Just if there's a bike type, he's ridden it in races and this and that. So I wished I had known that was actually him in this race, and that I had seen those cues beforehand to say, hey, I would have at least said something during the race. But here we are, 1 lap to go. We're almost 1 lap to go. 5K. Race is still at hand. We're still all in one little blob, one group. I know there's going to be more attacks. There should definitely be more attacks, but I don't know. We're looking at blues and grays down there now. So my heart rate's down to 157. That is like zone 3 for me. It's like complete recovery. That's a mistake on their parts. They're giving me my legs. I'm sure there'll be some attacks or something like that just to make sure they do ding the legs a little bit. But right now, that's not happening. Got the 2 Japanese riders right up ahead of me. 6 bars. And well, actually, all 3 of them are up front. Is it 3 or 4 of them? I don't know. Doesn't matter. But there's a little mini break. And I'm just going to put on enough power to make sure that I don't get dropped. Not too much, not too little. Just hard pedaling. Move back up into the group. And settle in. I'm not even going to break yet. 3.5K to go. There's got to be some more attacks. Heart rate's back up to 166, 167. That's perfectly fine for me. This was early on in my ACAT career. So, my heart rate being in the 170s, mid 170s, I used to consider high. I think back then my max heart rate, or my FTP heart rate, was maybe in the mid 180s. It's higher than that now. And there goes an OTR rider, Brian Bishop, making the attack. I knew more attacks were coming. And look at the other OTR rider right here in the black and red. He's not making a major push to get up to him. So I know that attack is just to burn the legs, for people to burn the matches. Right there, I put in a little bit more power than I had planned on putting, and that rolled me right on up to the front. Normally I wouldn't have pushed that much power, but it didn't hurt me. Going down. We're getting ready to get into the kicker again. At this point, I'm going to put down a little bit more power to make sure that I'm with the group if somebody decides they're going to go. And you can see most of the other riders doing this exact same thing. This is where you can get dropped, and there's only 2K left to go. So you want to make sure that you're not too far behind and that you're in the mix for when this sprint starts. As you can see, I rolled right on up to the front and right on past everybody. You can see me stop my pedal because I was going too fast. A little bit too much on that kicker, and it pushed me right up to the front. This is a 3-hour race. There are no power-ups in the 3-hour race. Anytime you see a 3-hour race on the event schedule, there are no power-ups. I think that benefits me to not have power-ups because there's no randomness in what you may get. Some people may get an arrow, some people may get a draft boost, some people may get nothing. You just get a 2K XP, a 10K XP boost. All that randomness can really affect the sprinters, and I've lost races because of not having the right power up. So that's why I enjoy doing the 3-hour races. There's no power up. It's just mano a mano. Who can push the power and how long you can push it. So 9/10 of a K left to go. Almost ready for sprint time. You'll notice that an OTR ride took off. That's Brian. He's making an attack. He wants people to chase him early on at the start of this sprint. I am not going to chase him. He's getting people to start too early. There goes Tyler. He just blew by me. He fell into that trap. He's chasing Brian. Brian is just burning up people's legs. I know I want to go at around 300 meters, so I just do a hard pedal to make sure I don't fall too far back. And at 300 meters, I am going to hit it. There we go, 300 meters, I'm going. There you go, a little over 1,000 watts. And zoom by Tyler, and boom, I win the race. Just like that. I didn't push a whole lot of power that time because my legs were, had 38K in them. But what I did was I held the power high, and I held it much longer than other riders. So here you can see that I won the race. Not a Dog is in second. Tyler actually came into third. You'll see that I have a green jersey on now. That's because I won the sprint. And I'm going to pause this for a second. And if you look here, you'll notice that I came in first place in the sprint in 9.53 seconds. ANMS came in second in the sprint with 9.78 seconds. That's one of the Japanese riders. So I know they were using team tactics to get that Japanese rider in the sprint to try and get him to win. The person that had 9.97 seconds is actually an OTR guy. So he's the other OTR guy that they were doing the team tactics, and they were trying to destroy people's legs to get their sprinters up front to try and win the race. They didn't win the race because the majority of the group didn't fall for their tactics and chase them and burn up their leg. The group stayed disciplined and didn't go after them. So their tactics didn't work. They were a little further in the back, didn't have as much power as I had, and weren't able to win the race. Tyler did good. He did good. He came in third. He started to fall off towards the end because he took off early going after Bishop. and his power started to fall going into the sprint banner and to the sprint arch, and I was able to pass him, and one other guy was able to pass him. A lot of that is due to drafting. If you're up front, you're pushing wind, and it's going to be harder for you to go, not harder for you to go fast, but your power isn't as valuable as the guys behind you that are getting your draft and can come around you with the draft. And that's what I was able to do. I was able to walk right through the whole group because of the power that I was pushing and that I was using their draft to go by all of them. And that's Tyler going out front, and you'll notice that the trainer popped up on his wheel and then he disappeared. That's because he went right from this race right into another race within seconds. So I give him props for going into another race, and I believe he came in second in the race, but on Zwift Power I think he was first, so he won that second race. So kudos to him. So we're going to exit this, and you can see for 5 seconds I pushed 1,012 watts and had nice 1 minute power. And we'll take a look at my chart. You see all my spikes there. Can't really see what my max power spike was and my max heart rate was because they kind of overlapping each other, but we can see the power on the quick power scale, and I maxed out at 1,033 watts. So nowhere near my max power, but good enough. So that's it. I really enjoyed that race, and I actually will link a link down in the description for you to get to Tyler's perspective of this race. His race has a lot better video quality than mine. I was using my old computer when I recorded this. Eventually, I got a new computer that has better video quality, and my races will look a lot better going into the future. But if you want to see this race from Tyler's perspective, and it's very interesting to hear him talk along with the race itself, and you can see all the commentary that he was getting as he was doing the race. And if you want to see his second race, you can see that also. So thank you for coming to the channel and watching my race, and I'll be back in the future with more races. Peace.